Hello friends and welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time with us, my name's Elena and this is take 2 of trying to record the audio for this video because after I fixed my OBS, I guess my GarageBand decided it hated me. But everything is fine now and we are making the characters from the Raven cycle. If you are not familiar, I'm about to ruin like the entire series for you, kind of. Like mostly just the personal plot lines. It's fine. I mean, if it's something you want to read, but you don't want any spoilers, then, like, do that first and then come back to the video. Otherwise, I mean, if you know it, you know that it's amazing and perfect. It's really, like, so if you aren't familiar, it's a young adult fantasy series. Yes, I read a lot of young adult fantasy because I'm in grad school and I'm sad all the time and I need it. I read it for the first time in college, like a couple 3 years ago, maybe. And then over spring break, I actually started using my Kindle again, which I haven't touched in a while, and it still has all 4 of the books on it because I bought them all with my own money because I love them that much. And it's based in Virginia. It's like, I don't know, it has that perfect amount of just like that feeling of place and southernness kind of, while also it brings in like the perfect fantasy elements to bring out everybody's like traits. Like it's character driven fantasy lore, which is my absolute, I know I'm getting really nerdy about this, but it's my absolute favorite. It's very like nature history based lore. It's definitely low fantasy, like it takes place in our world but just like with magic on top of it. And it's just like the characters are so well written and the storylines are so satisfying and it was so well planned out from the start. And I just really love Maggie Stiefvater a lot, the author, so here we are. So I reread all of them instead of doing any of my homework over spring break, and I took notes. I diligently wrote down every single detail that any of them had of, like, description. Like, any physical description of any of these 5 main characters I wrote down in a note on my phone, and so I promise that this is the most accurate possible set of Raven Cycle characters you'll ever find anywhere. So with Blue, we'll start with some Aspiration trait explanation. Aspiration is the botanist one, which she's like half tree kind of, and she likes being outdoors. She really cares about ecology. That's like what she wants to do with her life in the book. So perfect aspiration. And then I also gave her just kind of that outdoorsy trait because I think she really does like being outside. And it will also like, it just seemed accurate. And then I gave her unflirty because I think the very first line of the book is Blue Sergeant had been told, since she was young, Blue Sergeant had been told that if she kissed her true love, he would die. And so, like, she spends half of the books trying to avoid falling in love with anybody, and it's sad and delightful and great. So I gave her unflirty because she kind of just, like, pushes all idea of romance, like, away. She's like, I'll just never fall in love, and the problem's solved. And then self-assured, because that's also, she's supposed to be just kind of, like, this, like, battering ram of a girl. She's, like, 5 foot, can and will kick your ass, or she'll, like, try really hard to. And so that's kind of part of her character is, like, she doesn't give a shit, really. She's here to take care of her own business. And she doesn't really have time for anybody else's nonsense unless she really, really, really likes them and unless they have really, really nice arms, like Gansey does. Anyway, so another thing is that they don't really, like, she actually has the least physical description of any of them. They give a lot of information, or the author gives a lot of information about, like, her dress sense, like what she's wearing at different times, because it's kind of part of who she is she's this very eccentric, like, she's a teenager, but she definitely dresses like your 65-year-old art teacher. You know, like Frankie from Grace and Frankie is, like, a little bit of the vibe. So it was really hard to pick out her outfits. I spent a long time doing them. Her face felt good right away. But her outfits took a really long time, as you're about to see. But I think I came up with outfits that actually still, like, look good, but also have that, no other character would wear these. So yeah, her hair is not as messy as it's supposed to be. Sorry for you purists. There isn't a hairstyle that's, like, messy enough. I think the exact wording that they use in the book is, like, vestigial ponytail. Like, she just has one of those tiny, tiny little ponytails. So this hairstyle has that, at least, going for it. And the bangs seemed kind of bluish, that just, like, in your hair and her face, like, not really paying attention, kind of, I don't know. It seemed right. But yeah, her hair is supposed to be super, like, messy and clipped, like, she has, like, a bob that she just clips it up with a billion different bobby pins, and it looks like a porcupine all the time, which I find delightful. So yeah, that's kind of Blue. This is Another thing, all of the boys, they say pretty explicitly, are just, like, white. And with Blue, you know that her father is Welsh. So she's, like, half Welsh, but then there's not really any clear information on what her mother's, like, racial background is. And mostly when they describe a lot of the other women in the house, like, she lives with a bunch of psychics. And they're all these women who are, like, not necessarily related, but a little bit. And they, like, refer to themselves as her aunts and stuff like that. So, just, like, based on the descriptions of some of them and based on the illustrations that the author has done for some of her characters, the popular idea, I think, in the fandom is that Blue is, like, Southeast Asian. So that's kind of what I went with, that maybe she has, like, a Southeast Asian mom, like Indonesian or Malaysian or something. I don't know. I didn't pick a country necessarily, but that's the general idea. And then, yeah, she just has this really eccentric, like, how does she pick what she wears? The dress that you actually just saw me put on her for formal wear, there's a part in the book where she's going to a funeral, and she shows up in a green dress with just a big piece of lace, like black lace over it, because she didn't own any black dresses. So, like, that's Blue. She's just very, she dresses like, if you gave a 5-year-old a credit card and, like, set them loose in a thrift store is kind of what I imagine. I also gave her a giant head because I wanted her to look like she was small. Obviously in The Sims, like, you can't really set heights unless you're willing to download a bunch of mods that I don't feel like keeping up with. So I gave her a big head to make her body look tiny because she's supposed to be, like, 5 foot. And then this dress, there's a famous moment in the book where Blue, like, leaves her house to talk to her love interest, and she's wearing a dress that, and I quote, looks like a lampshade. And that her love interest looks like he would really like to buy that lamp, which I think is great. So I tried to find, like, that lampshade moment is so iconic. I tried to find a dress that looked like you could describe it as a lampshade. I did eventually, I think I went with one of the ones from Get Famous, ? Like, one of the, like, short red carpet dresses that they kind of give you. Lots of jewelry because, like, that's who she is. Just, like, accessories AF. But yeah, so I tried to make everything, like, look good, but also look weird. Like, I didn't want any of these outfits to be things that I would put any other sim in ever, and I think I kind of succeeded. So yeah, there's your lampshade dress. Hopefully it fulfills the expectations that you would have of a lampshade dress. I went through the jewelry buttons, like, a lot. Again, look, we're a third of the way through the video almost, or, like, a fourth, and I'm still on Blue's, like, 5th outfit. So this is also based exactly on an instance in the book where she's at a gas station, I think, and an old man goes, like, oh, nice legs, and she chews them out. But the outfit that she's wearing is, like, over-the-knee socks, shorts, and a giant teal t-shirt. And that's just pure Blue. It's great. Yeah, I feel like, I don't know exactly, it's like if, in the 2000s how Disney Channel just had, like, all kinds of whack outfits, like, there was no consistency whatsoever. They'd be wearing, like, 50 layers of leggings and then, like, 3 jackets. That's like Blue, but hers looks good. That's what I went for, I think. So yeah, she's kind of like a minimal makeup gal. She's just hanging out, looking cute, being half tree. She's my favorite character from the books, like, hands down, no questions asked. Like, I would die for her. I'm sorry, I kept clicking in and out to make sure OBS was running because this is, like, the second video I recorded with it, and if I lost my progress on these, I would have cried. Okay, so Gansey. He is Blue's love interest. He is supposed to be, like, the most handsome, clean-cut, like, pure, like, just that pure, wealthy, white American male, like, just kind of handsome in, like, a really conventional way, but with some nerdy touches. Oh yeah, I had to give her the over the knee socks because I saw it again in my note where I wrote down all of the descriptions. And I was like, well, fuck, I have to. And she wears combat boots, of course, because why wouldn't you? ? Yeah, what a doll. Ugh. Just look at her. She's amazing. Okay, Gansey, the only man that could ever possibly deserve Blue. He's supposed to be just, like, this super upper class, like, old money, like, blessed, he's constantly described as just, like God just threw all of the good things he had for men, just kind of, like, in one bucket. So he's really smart, he's just handsome, like, straight white teeth, great jawline, like, flouncy hair, amazing. And then he's got the archaeologist aspiration, because his driving thing throughout the whole book is trying to make meaning of his life. Like, he's been given all these advantages, he has, like, every possible boost in life, kind of, and he wants to make something meaningful out of it, because otherwise, like, he's just a spoiled brat. And the way that he chooses to do that is by finding this Welsh king. He decided that there's a Welsh king that came over to the U.S. in, like, the 11th century and was buried here, and is still, like, alive, kind of. So that's what he's looking for throughout the whole book, and that's kind of, like, the driving narrative force, is his search for this dead king. Or sleeping king, or whatever. So he has that archaeologist aspiration, and he has a book nerd aspiration because he's a big fucking nerd. Like, really just huge nerd. If you're looking at his face and you're like, this is the most blandly handsome sim I've ever seen in my life, thank you, that's what I was going for. He does. The funny thing is that out of all the characters, Noah actually gets the least physical description, the last one that we'll do, and then it's Blue. Which is rare, I think, for a female character to be, like, the one that gets least physically described. And then the boys all have, like, somebody thirsting really hard after them, like, at multiple places in the storyline. So you get a lot of physical description. So I had a lot to work with. He's supposed to have, like, a straight nose and a noble chin and a smile that, it's like the Gansey smile that they bring out every generation. They have a son and polish up and hang on the mantelpiece, and it's, like, an inheritance to have the Gansey smile. Anyway, so book nerd, he's outgoing because that's kind of part of his thing, is he can just kind of, like, connect with anybody. He can school his emotions immediately to just, like, talk to somebody as if nothing's going on. Like, excellent small talker, charming. His mom's, like, running for Congress at one point in the book, so he's, like, the golden boy that they bring out. And then he's also good, because it's his thing. He's, like, painfully noble, like Harry Potter level noble, except he doesn't, like, he kind of gets distracted by girls, but it's fine. So this outfit, you'll notice that all of the boys have the same outfit, kind of. They all have this sweater, because they all know each other from bougie private school. So they all have kind of the same, like, this is a uniform. It's the Raven sweaters, which they mention a ton of times throughout the book, because the mascot of the school is, like, a raven. So they're all wearing these Raven boy sweaters. I was kind of thinking about making his first name Gansey, and then having his last name be the third, because throughout the book they constantly refer to him as, like, Gansey instead of Dick or anything like that, but, I couldn't do it. I had to put Dick Gansey the third, so, worth it. I've been using this sim from the gallery to make sure I get all of the, like, outfit options, all the work outfit options. She's, somebody went through and got her to the top of every career so that I could steal her off the gallery and use her to get access to political suits. You know what I'm talking about? It's fine. Anyway. So yeah, he's just super clean cut, just, like, good looking. He's supposed to be on the crew, like, rowing team at some point, so he's, like, kind of muscular, but still definitely teenaged. I made them all young adults, actually, because I wanted to be able to give them 3 traits and have them live by themselves. But, I went through and checked how they look as teenagers, and it's, like, also good. But at the end of the book, to be fair, they are all young adults. But at the beginning of the books, they're, like, 16, 17. So yeah, I did, like, I swear to God, I went through, each of these outfits is based off of something from the book. Like, anything I had. So for him, there's points where he's wearing, like, a preppy sweater. I was trying that out. I think I end up going with, like, a polo shirt, because that's just who he is. There are multiple points where Blue kind of bemoans the fact that she's in love with a guy who wears polo shirts and boat shoes, which, as a girl who went to possibly the preppiest college in the entire country, like, I'm not kidding. I know that you might be thinking something Ivy League, but no, the preppiest school in the entire country is Butler University in Indianapolis. So I relate to that thing where you're like, oh, he's cute, but oh God, look at the boat shoes. So there he is. Boat shoes, bright polo shirt. He's amazing. He's a star. Yeah, oh, look at him. His face was also really easy. I think him and Blue and Noah were kind of the ones where I was like, yeah, perfect face, amazing. I feel great about that. And then Ronan and Adam, I like had a lot of inner conflict about. But it's like that sometimes. Some Sims are easier than others. Yeah, there's Gansey. He's handsome. He's charming. He's great. Adam is like the tortured one. He's a scholarship kid at the school. He's he's from like an abusive household. His dad's like the biggest piece of shit in the world. So that's kind of one of his struggles. So his aspiration is like that money one. I forget what it's called. But like throughout the book, that is kind of his driving goal, is to like escape poverty, escape his background, make sure that he doesn't have to depend on anybody for anything. Like, and it's not cast as necessarily a bad thing that his ambition is like to get out of where he came from. Like that's not something that's like judged in the book necessarily, even though on The Sims it's kind of one of like the greedy people aspirations. But no, like that's just who he is he wants to achieve things, to like take care of himself. He has the outdoorsy trait because he like his magical connection is also very like nature based. They like refer to Gansey as kind of the king in the books, and Adam's like one of the wizards and or like one of the magicians, quote unquote. And his thing is very like nature based. So I gave him the nature trait. The ambitious trait, because he's putting himself through bougie private school, working like 3 jobs. He gets like emancipated when he's like 17 because his dad's like the biggest piece of shit. And then I gave him the hot-headed trait, which is something that by the end of the books he kind of works through. But at the beginning it's something that he's constantly afraid of, is that he's going to like grow up to be like his dad, or that he's like his dad in some way. So yeah, I know that he looks a little bit like an alien, but that's on purpose. Part of his thing is that he looks very otherworldly. Like he's supposed to look a little bit alien-y. You'll see me try out every single hair in the book to try and find the correct hair for Adam, but it was hard because he kind of like, I wanted him to be handsome and beautiful and great, but like the evidence that you get throughout the books is actually that he's kind of odd looking. Like he's supposed to be sort of beautiful in a weird way. But yeah, and I had to give him a haircut that looked like he got it, that like his mom did it at home, because that's probably what happened. Or that like he did it in his bathroom with a pair of scissors. So actually I did end up coming back through after, like when I was taking screenshots, I was like, that's not right. So I fixed him up a little bit, and I fixed Ronan up a little bit after I stopped recording. And I gave Adam a different hair, but you'll see that in the screenshots. So, yeah, he's like, yeah, again, the tortured soul. He's very fiercely independent to, like, kind of a problematic degree where he doesn't want anybody to do anything for him. So these suits, there's a scene in the book where they're at Gansey's mother's congressional, like, candidate event thing, and Adam and Gansey are both wearing these suits. So I had them wear suits from the politician career that you can get, where they have like little buttons on the lapels. I know how to say words. Oh, and for his everyday outfit, he's wearing like, because he really wants to fit in at this bougie school, but he doesn't, like he has to buy the cheapest possible options of everything. And so his pants look a little different, and he has a cheap watch, which they mention like a bunch of times in the book, that he has like this really cheap looking watch. But it's kind of like a thing for him that he has to have it. It's like a sign of independence and being like a grown-up. But it's not like as good as all of the rich kids. So yeah, there he is, being handsome. I changed his hair later to something a little bit more like prep schooly. And then for his like exercise outfit, because he has like 50 jobs, I tried to give him like a mechanic jumpsuit sort of. That's something that returns constantly throughout the books, is that he's like good with cars, and so one of his jobs is he's a mechanic. So I gave him like the gardener jumpsuit. I go through a bunch of different iterations of this outfit, but I do come back to the gardener jumpsuit, and I gave him, I think, like smudgy dirt makeup from the Hollywood pack, the Get Famous, because you're working at like a mechanic. It's just how it be sometimes. Yeah. I gave him a scar briefly, because, again, he does get beat up a lot, but I ended up taking it away because he didn't have any facial scars in the end. He does get deaf in one ear, so there's that. This is a very ugly attempt at me making like a mechanic jumpsuit. Didn't quite work. It's fine. Yeah, Adam's like, I really love him as a character. He's frustrating, but very good, and you feel great about how he ends up, I think. And he's complicated. Like, he's very dark. He's not, like, Orphan Annie kind of, like, oh, my life is sad, but I'm so good. Like, he does have, like, a deep darkness inside of him, and him and Ronan end up together, in case anybody hadn't read the books. And it's kind of this great mirror thing of Adam being, like, outwardly very, like, fair, he looks very, like, light and kind of golden, and, like, he works really hard. He's, like, this plucky upstart, but then on the inside he's got, like, a lot of darkness. And then, which he kind of leans into sometimes because it gives him power, and sometimes he feels bad that he has that at all. And then Ronan, like, looks like he could kill you, and he kind of wants to, but then on the inside, like, he has all this, like, light, flowers and butterflies and like, not in a corny way at all, but just, like, his natural bent is to create, like, light, happy, good things that are, beautiful in an odd way, whereas Adam kind of feels like his bent is just to be dark. So yeah, I gave him a lot of stuff that looks like kind of hand-me-down, army surplus type of deal. And then, okay, so Ronan. Ronan, part of the problem that I had making this is that he is supposed to be, like, the beefiest one. Like, he's supposed to be able to kick anybody's ass and look like it. Obviously, he's still a teenager in the books, so I would have liked to be able to just, like, make him taller and a little bit broader than all the other boys, but you can't do that, so I just had to make him a beefy. And this is, like, how he would look when he grows up, right? It's just this, like, big beefy guy. So, yeah, he's supposed to have, like, I guess I was kind of going off of, like, the way that a scary soccer coach looks in movies, like the Bennett, like, Beckham soccer coach. Not the cute one, but the other one. Yeah, so he's supposed to be, like, very sharp-looking, kind of, like, snaky. So, yeah, I had a lot of fun with that. So his main, like, aspiration is collector, because in the books he has the power to, like, bring things out of dreams. So he ends up with all these, like, really interesting objects, and just, like, odd. The way that his father made his money was by selling things that he got out of his dreams, so he did have that actual, like, collector job. So I thought that would be good for gameplay, because it means he'll just sometimes turn up with, like, random shit that you're like, where'd you get that from? Which is accurate to the book. So there you go. I also gave him creative, because that's kind of, he's not a school guy at all. Like, he drops out. He's a very lateral thinker. Like, he's not at all, like, traditionally smart. He's very much, well, he kind of is. He's really good at Latin, but he's definitely not, like, an academic. He's very much, like, let me live my life. And he has a shaved head, which I spent a while picking, because apparently we have a bunch of shaved head options. And then musical, because he is, like, his dad's this, like, jaunty Irish man who, like, teaches them all to play instruments and then gets horribly murdered. It's great. And, like, music often has a lot to do with what he does in the books. And he's also mean, because that trait makes Sims happy after they fight, and Ronan loves to fight. So those leather bracelets are specifically from the book. He wears those all the time. I think his father gave them to him. And then he wears, like, shitty pants with his raven sweater, because he is super rich, but he hates the idea of this private school that's super bougie, and he hates, like, having to sit in the classroom, so he rebels as much as he can while still, showing up. Sometimes. He shows up for school sometimes. Yeah, so he's a lot of black in the books. Like, whenever he dresses himself, he's pretty much wearing a black t-shirt and jeans or a black tank top and jeans. He has a big, like, that giant tattoo on his back is also from the book. It's supposed to kind of represent, like, the way his dreams look a little bit. So sort of jagged, but also kind of floral and interesting looking. Yeah, scary black clothing all the time, because he's just a scary dude. Or he wants people to think he's a scary dude. He kind of is. I don't know if he actually, like, I don't know. I think maybe he's, by the end of all the books, he's maybe, like, the only person who doesn't kill somebody. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know how many people they actually kill. It's fine. But no, he is, like, this beefy guy who is angry a lot of the time because his dad died horribly. But he's actually just, on the inside, he wants to be loved, and he's very, like, him and Adam they make me very happy. And then, yeah, here's me fixing the fucking outfit. He's like somebody that I would hate if I met him in real life, because he just is, like, mean to everybody, and just kind of, like, he, like, throws meanness at them and just kind of sees how it shakes out. I had to give them all rich boy sunglasses. I forgot to do that. But, yeah, so he's just kind of mean to everybody just to kind of see what happens. And then he has all this money, but he, like, doesn't do anything. Doesn't, like, show up to class. I would hate him if I met him in real life, because I'm a control freak a little bit. But, yeah, this outfit's directly from the book. He's doing farm work, and he, like, puts on ripped jeans and, like, some rain boots and an old hoodie, and I think the mental picture of that is hilarious. So, yeah, he's just living his life, being a badass, pining after Adam Parrish. It's great. I had to use a bunch of leather jackets, because that's just also who he is. I don't know if in the book they ever put him, I think they put him in a biker jacket, like, one time, but they say that he wears it a lot, so I use that as an excuse to, like, make a lot of his outfits leather jacket based. Yeah, I'm looking at his shoulders, and they're, like, just too big, slightly, just a little too big. But in The Sims, like, you don't really have a lot of options. I'm so sad. Yeah, I should have gone back and made them. Whatever. We're here now. I uploaded them to the gallery already twice, so this is what you get. Elena D97, by the way, in case you wanted to download them. Yeah, ripped jeans. He's supposed to look like a rich kid, but like a rich kid who's mad that he's rich, which to me is the most annoying possible thing in real life. But in a book character, I was like, I love you. Yeah, okay, so Noah's the last one. This doesn't take very long. But he's a ghost. Spoilers, I guess. So I made him really pale. He's supposed to just be pale in the first place, but I made him really, really pale. I gave him really, really light blonde hair, because that's kind of how they describe him in the books. They don't give him an eye color besides, like, black at one point when he's acting kind of possessed, so I gave him, like, dark brown eyes, because it seemed right. He gets a few descriptors, but I found it actually really easy, because he's supposed to be this character that you just feel for all the time. Like, he was murdered when he was, like, 15 or 16, and he was just, like, still really a kid. And he kind of acts like a puppy a lot when he's at his most human, but then he also has this ghost side, because he's literally a ghost, that's really just dark and scary, and, like, he can't control it, and he doesn't like it. So he was really easy, because, you just want to look at his face. Like, don't you want to protect him? Like, look at that baby boy. Ugh. Anyways, so I gave him, like, the happy household aspiration, because he doesn't really want anything in the books necessarily besides to, like, be with his friends and, like, have somebody figure out what happened to him. So, I don't know. I just gave him that one because it made me sad. He has that big scar on his cheek because, thank you, Get Famous Pack, by the way. He constantly has this smudge on his face that they realized later was, like, an injury from when he got murdered. So, yeah, he's got gloomy because ghost, so he just sometimes goes into, like, super sad reenacting his own death mode. Childish because that's his, like, very human personality, is just goofy and, like, childlike, and I think he's supposed to have ADHD. And then erratic because he switches back and forth between those things a lot. I was proud of those traits, actually. I thought they were perfect. His outfits were kind of fun because they don't really give a lot of information about what he wears. He's, like, less human than the rest of them, so they don't really notice what he wears a lot, I guess. But I gave him, like, early 2000s douchebag clothes a little bit. And he wears a lot of black, I think, but it's not clear if that's how he actually dressed or if that's just the ghostiness coming out. But yeah, lots of black. I gave him some yellow because it looked good with his, like, whole color palette that he was working with. I don't know. He makes me sad. So that's Noah. Yeah, I think we are wrapping up a little bit, but basically, if you have read these books, I hope you appreciated them. Tell me how you think I did. If you have not read these books, I'm begging you to do that. Like, they're so good. If you like any kind of fantasy, and also you don't suck as a person, because I think if you suck as a person, you can't like these books. They're the best. They're by Maggie Stiefvater. They're incredible. They're called The Raven Cycle, if you didn't hear me say that the first 50 times. So, I have them uploaded to the gallery, Elena D97. I'll put the name in the description box as well. Thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate you. I hope you appreciate you, and I will see you all next time.